I call to order this meeting of the Coweta County Board of Education, Agenda 824, 6:30 p.m., December 10th, 2024. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. Thank you. You may be seated. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Recognitions, Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this time, I'll call on Public Information Officer Dean Jackson to bring us our recognitions, of which we have several tonight. Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. Board members, we do have several recognitions tonight, and our very first one is our core business. We have the Noonan High School Chorus who are here tonight to kind of get us into the spirit of the season, and I'm going to call on Noonan High School Principal Jamal Kemp to recognize.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dr. Jamal Kemp, principal of Noonan High School. What a great way to start the board meeting as we get to hear some wonderful voices of Noonan High School. The 5-year Coweta County School System Strategic Plan emphasizes and measures advanced opportunities for all students that encourage creativity, innovation, and the collaborative problem solving. We at Noonan High School have identified using cross-curricular approaches to build community and to enhance student performance in math, ELA, as a point of emphasis in our school improvement plan for the 2024-25 school year. As part of our focus in this area, we are highlighting the Noonan High School Performing Arts Department as we understand that a chorus program can help students with cognitive development through improved memory, pattern recognition, and language skills, as well as support critical thinking through interpreting music. Additionally, applying team problem solving through collaborative efforts in resolving harmonies and perfecting dynamics in a group setting, parallel problem solving activities in all content areas, even our core areas of math and ELA. Ms. Robbins, Noonan High School Choral Music Director, is here with her students this evening to share one example of the work that is being produced at Noonan High School.
Hello. We are delighted to be here this evening and grateful for the opportunity to share with you the exciting achievements of the performing arts students at Noonan High School. Over the past 6 weeks, we have celebrated a number of milestones in our brand new auditorium. The theater program presented the first play, A Wrinkle in Time, on the new stage. Our band held its very first concert of the year. The chorus produced the first musical, The Addams Family, and most recently, we hosted Noonan Sings, an a cappella festival involving nearly 200 singers from Noonan High School and Evans, Madras, and Smoky Road Middle School choirs. The motto of the Noonan Chorus is building community through music. The chorus students and I were thrilled that our first concert in the new auditorium reflected that mission and included so many singers from across the Noonan community. I am honored to introduce one of our chorus members, Emil Brown. Emil is a member of Tonality, our advanced treble chorus, Viva, our treble a cappella quartet, and also serves as an officer in the Noonan Choral Council. This past summer, Emil represented Coweta County as a participant in the Governor's Honors Program. Earlier this fall, she was selected by her peers as the 2024 Noonan High School Homecoming Queen. In October, Emil was featured in the principal role of Morticia Addams in our production of The Addams Family. She is here to share with you her experiences and reflections as a member of the Noonan Chorus. Emil?
Singing is a transformative power.
each moment that I have sung in chorus, whether that have been at one of our fall musical rehearsals or even at our first vocal concert this year, Noonan Sings, I have truly come to treasure growing and working with my peers. From collectively working to build our musicality to fostering new connections with those around me, the community that I have worked to build within my program has been such a highlight in my life. To dare to make people more understanding through singing, to take on being the storyteller in a musical, and to see life from a different perspective. These are the strengths and opportunities that I've been given as a part of Noonan Chorus. So through music, not only have I had the privilege of welcoming new people into my circle every year, but I can also say that because of it, I have been changed for good. Music has changed me for good. Miss Robbins has changed me for good. And my peers, my friends, have changed me for good. Thank you very much.
On behalf of all the performing arts students and my colleagues at Noonan High School, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude and thanks to Dr. Horton, the Coweta County School Board, the Noonan High School administration led by Dr. Kemp, and the entire Noonan family for their support of the performing arts. The new auditorium is an incredible facility that will support the growth and showcase the achievements of Coweta County students for decades to come. Tonight, we have a few chorus students who would like to share a brief performance with you from their upcoming Christmas show, The Most Wonderful Time of the Year. Thank you again for the opportunity to be here this evening.
Thank you, Noonan High School. For our next presentation tonight, speaking of seasonal traditions that we've had for some time, we have a visit from the Coweta County 4-H tonight. I'm going to call on Bill Hammond, County Extension Agent, to talk about our long-standing partnership with them and with 4-H in our community. Thank you for coming tonight.
Thank you. And as always, we come bearing treats. As a thank you for your support for the Coweta County 4-H. Coweta County 4-H, of course, we go into all of the 5th grade classes every month to teach science and English language arts lessons. For the past couple of months, we have been working on public speaking. That's part of one of our competitions called Project Achievement. So in Project Achievement, students learn to compile thoughts, do research, create visual aids, and then give presentations. This starts, of course, in 5th grade for most of our students. They can do it again in 6th grade. When they get to 7th grade, there's an added component of a portfolio, which is a compilation of all of their accomplishments in their chosen project for the year. When they go to high school, I tell them the stakes get bigger, because if they win at district level, they can move on to state congress in Atlanta. This past year, we had 4 high schoolers go to state congress, and 3 of them actually advanced to national congress, so they won at the state level. Today, I have with me Ryder, who's one of our 5th graders at Arnco Sargent, one of Miss Brightman's students. This past month, we listened to a lot of 5th grade presentations, and Ryder's was one that stood out to me. So I invited Ryder to come with me this evening. So I'd like to turn the time over to Ryder to give his wonderful presentations on chickens.
Hi, my name is Ryder Moore, and today I will be talking to you about chickens. Did you know there are 26.56 billion chickens in the world? Crazy, right? But today I will be talking to you about chickens, on how to house them, what to feed them, and what's the difference between free-range and pasture-raised chickens. Where to house them? Chickens need a warm, well-ventilated house. They need a big enough entrance to pass through. For their space, chickens need to exercise, stretch their wings, and carry out normal chicken behavior. And for their covered flooring, it should be covered with dry materials such as wood shavings or straw, and a perch so the chickens can roost comfortably. They also need a nest box for the hens to lay their eggs, and a closed box with comfortable nesting material. What to feed your chicken? What to feed your chickens? High-quality feed you can purchase at many pet stores. Other treats are seeds, fruits, and vegetables. They can also eat grass, weeds, and grubs. And some stuff you shouldn't feed your chickens, like onions, chocolate, or processed food. What's the difference between free-range and pasture-raised chickens? Free-range chickens are outdoor part of the day and in their coop the other half. Pasture-raised chickens are outside all day, which they have more space to forage and a better diet, and their eggs may have higher nutrient value. Today, I talk to you about how to house them, how to house your chickens, what to feed them, and what's the difference between free-range and pasture-raised chickens. So did you know there are 26.56 billion chickens in the world? So here's a tip. If you get any chickens, make sure to give them space to forage, room to roam, room to roam to exercise, and good food.
So on behalf of our Coweta County 4-Hers, thank you for your support. I've got a box of cookies. I also have a card that's been decorated by Journey Dukes and Audrey Cubison from Willis Road Elementary.
Ryder, I have listened to a lot of presentations and judged a lot of presentations, and you did an excellent job. So thank you. Be proud of it.
Thank you, Ryder. Mr. Hammond, thank you, 4-H. We appreciate that. We have, for our next recognition tonight, we're going to call on East Coweta High School to recognize the Georgia Class 6A Georgia Softball Championships, the East Coweta High School Lady Indians. We have Principal Steve Allen, Coach Franklin Deloach, members of his staff. We asked them to come on down and introduce And Principal Allen, if you don't mind, could you also recognize Haley while you're here too?
Yeah, go ahead and do that. And let me do that before we start with you guys. Guys, we have a young lady, Haley Faust is, and I think maybe most of you have met Haley. Who hasn't? Haley's one of our exceptional students at East Coweta High School. She has been named to the State Superintendent Advisory Council. Now, she couldn't be here tonight. She is dancing at the ball game. And so we just want to make sure we recognized her for her accomplishments. She's awesome, 11th grader. All right, moving on. 8 years, three runner-up, and 4 state championships. These people sitting behind me, it's an amazing feat. Proud to be a principal of East Coweta High School. Known Franklin DeLoach for 25 years. This is his 25th season at the helm. The coach, I want everybody just to please, it's really a great feat what these young ladies have done over the past few years and what these coaches have put into them over these past few years. So with further ado, I want to introduce Coach Franklin DeLoach.
School Superintendent, Dr. Evan Horton, Dr. Mark God, School Board, thank you so much for having us here tonight. It's just really an honor and a privilege. And before we get started, the girls, we have something, small gift for you guys for having us here tonight, and just want to say thank you. And we'll go ahead and get those to you. Want to also send a sincere thank you to our school board for an awesome facility we have. You know, we're so proud of it, and I was just telling someone just last week, I was at a meeting in Macon, and how I feel like we might just have the best high school softball locker room in the state, and we're so thankful for that, and the press box and everything, and it's we're so thankful for that. Going to introduce some of the girls here, and girls, I think we just want them to walk up. And we went 37-1, like Mr. Allen said, won the state championship in 6A, overcoming the University of Beaufort, which is quite a feat. And so and it was awesome. I think the 3 games we played them there in Columbus, it was a 2-0 win. A 1-0 loss in the bottom of the 7th, and then the 3rd game we beat them 4-3. So we're very proud of these young ladies. First one, freshman Peyton Wilson. Peyton was our starting left fielder. Peyton also, as a freshman, just received the honor for 2nd team All-State, which is quite an honor for a freshman. Senior Madison Duffel. Madison is signed to go play softball next year at Georgia Tech. She's 1st team All-State. Junior McKenna Holmes. McKenna's one of our pitchers. Went 5-0 during the year in the circle for us. Junior Kate Miller, starting center fielder. Made that last awesome catch, that final out of the season that we're still talking about that catch. Junior Addie Joyner, our starting catcher. She's already committed to play softball at the next level at Mercer University. Also, 2nd team All-State, Addie Joyner. Senior Lizzie Alston, starting right fielder. Lizzie has already signed to go play softball next year and continue her education at the University of West Alabama. Junior Gabby Gopi. Gabby was our starting 3rd baseman. Gabby had a wonderful season for us. We have some freshmen here that helped us out a lot, gave us some depth. Keely Gardner. Izzy Kelleher could not be with us tonight. Kaylin Bowen. We also have junior Cameron Horton, one of our pitchers. She went 5-0 during the season in the circle for us. We have a senior couldn't be with us tonight, Riley Gordy. We have another sophomore, Avery Batten. Senior Maddie Weathers. Maddie has already signed to play softball next year, continue her education at Jacksonville University. Maddie was our starting first baseman, who also second team All-State. Junior Peyton Robertson. Peyton, first team All-State, is already committed to continue her education and play softball as well at Mercer University. Junior Addie Howe. Addie gave us a lot of depth around the roster. Senior Jenna Hamley. Jenna platooned a lot with us for us out in the outfield. Had a great season for us. And junior Jada Savage. Jada was State of Georgia highest classification pitcher of the year, voted on by the coaches across our state. Jada's already committed to play softball at her high school and continue her education at Ole Miss. And yeah. And senior, greatest manager I've ever had, and I mean it. 28 years baseball and softball, Laney Blair. So proud of Laney. So again, just want to thank you guys for having us tonight, and also would like to introduce our coaches. Couldn't do it without them. Coach Brandon Blair. Coach, you guys stand up for us here at least. Coach Kyle Bowman and Coach Blake Summers and Coach Tyler Ridgway, as well as Coach Mark Bowles right here. Thank you guys so much for having us tonight.
All right, thank y'all for coming, and congratulations, coaches and players. Thank y'all very much. Our next recognition, Mr. Jackson, I'll take this one to get us kicked off here. Our next recognition tonight is to recognize the first cohort of our Georgia's Best graduates from the University of West Georgia. The Coweta County School System and the University of West Georgia entered into a partnership almost 2 years ago where we would take staff members and assist them with getting advanced degrees in exchange for them committing to work for the school system for an additional 5 years in order to shore up some of our high-need areas. I'm proud to recognize the first group of graduates tonight. This group's a little bit off schedule. They're a little bit ahead of schedule. The biggest group will come in the spring. But along with that, I want to make sure I introduce some great partners of ours. Dr. David Buckman, Associate Dean for Partnerships at the University of West Georgia. Dr. Logan Arrington, he's the interim chair of the Education, Technology, and Foundations Department over there. Dr. Kathy Green, who's interim chair of the Special Education Department. Miss Anita Williams, who assists Dr. Buckman. She's the coordinator of Strategic Innovation and External Partnerships. And then my good friend, Dean of the College of Education, Dr. Mike Dishman. I'd like to recognize them, have them come down. We're going to ask Dr. Karen Barker, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum Instruction, to come down, introduce our graduates. And board members, if you would, we're all going to go down so we can shake their hands. So let's go down.
As the board members are coming down, graduates, as I call your name, you will come down this aisle and then receive your stole and pen and shake hands.
Really quickly, Dr. Barker, while everybody's getting organized, if you are a spouse, significant other, family member, co-worker of any of these graduates that supported them along the way, stand up for us. I want to make sure we recognize you. On the back.
And the pen, right. All right, Kaylee Brewer. Is Kaylee here? Jimmy Brown. You're first. Yeah. Next, Emily Bine. Next, Kylie Cody. Adrian Colton. I'm sorry, I went too fast. Okay. Felicia Dunson. Congratulations. Delaney Frank. Yay. Aaron Hill. Courtney Kawa. Caitlin Kite. Ashley Pena. Julia Powell. Jennifer Power. Jennifer Reed. Nicholas Tinky. Congratulations. Dorian Venable. And Erin Woolfield. I don't think she could make it. I think that's it. Congratulations to our graduates.
So 2 years ago, at the recommendation of Dr. Horton, I stood before this board and asked you to make a commitment to your teachers that was truly historic in scope. And you all were one of the first two school boards in the state of Georgia to make the commitment to its teachers. And this is a wonderful thing that we have with Georgia's Best, but it would be impossible. It would be nothing but a vision except for the courage and the support of your school board. Thank you for all you do for your teachers.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes of November 12th, 2024?
So moved.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Action items, Group 1, Dr. Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The first item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve 2025 Board of Education meeting dates, times, and locations. The Coweta County Board of Education regular meetings will be held on the dates listed below at 6:30 p.m. at the central office located at 167 Wurz Industrial Boulevard, Noonan 30263. January 14th of 2025, February the 11th of 2025, March the 11th, 2025, April 1st of 2025, and please note, everyone, that we changed that date to the first Tuesday in April due to the spring break, which is the second Tuesday. May 13th of 2025, June 10th, 2025, July 8th, 2025, August 12th, 2025, September 9th, 2025, October 14th, 2025, November 11th, and December 9th of 2025. Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of these dates for regular Board of Education meetings.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the 2025 Board of Education meeting dates, times, and locations. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
The next item I have for you in Group 1 is to appoint Coweta County's 2025 Georgia School Board Association Legislative Liaison. We need to identify and appoint a member of the board to serve on GSBA's Legislative Liaison Network as Coweta County's representative for the 2025 session of the Georgia General Assembly. The appointee will attend GSBA's annual 2025 Summer Conference in Savannah in next June. Mr. Chair, with that, I'll open it up for nominations.
I'd like to nominate Mr. Buzz Glover. Is there a second on that nomination?
Second.
Any discussion? Or any other nominations, excuse me? All right, all those in favor? All right, motion carries 7-0. All right, now, do I need to approve it again? Okay, all right, thank you.
The next item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve system applications to the Georgia Department of Education for the establishment of 2 locally developed career pathways in audio sound technology. It's recommended that the Coweta County Board of Education approve the CEC local CTAE pathway applications to the Georgia Department of Education for the creation of audio technology post-production pathway and the audio technology live production pathway. This approval is required to submit the locally developed CTAE pathway applications to the Georgia Board of Education for the development of these 2 career pathways. This approval allows the school system and the state to meet regional and statewide industry career needs in audio sound technology career fields, similar to the existing audiovisual film and TV pathways that we already have at CEC. These pathways also allow our school system to continue to grow both academic and technical dual enrollment options with our post-secondary partners, as well as work-based learning and career exploration opportunities here in Coweta County. Mr. Chair, I recommend approval of these applications to the Georgia Board of Education.
You've heard the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the system applications to the GADOE for the establishment of 2 locally developed career pathways in audio sound technology. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Dr. Horton, do we have a teacher set up for that?
We do have teachers, and it will not require additional staff. Dr. Puckett reminded me to say that. He's shaking his head back there.
So we're good.
All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
The last item I have for you in Group 1 is to approve the addition of 3 new English language arts courses. Georgia Department of Education has approved new course options for 9th through 12th English Language Arts graduation requirements beginning with the 25-26 school year. New courses that we're recommending the additional 3 new ELA courses to continue to provide advanced opportunities for students. These new courses will better prepare students for success in advanced classes, advanced placement, and dual enrollment English and humanities courses, and will be taught using existing staff allotments. With board approval, students will have the opportunity to take pre-AP English Lit and Comp 1, pre-AP English Lit and Comp 2. There is no AP exam association with these courses. With board approval, students will also be able to meet ELA course graduation requirements by completing as one of the 3rd or 4th core ELA options, an AP seminar. Additional high school ELA course information, there's no board action needed on this piece. All students completing the 4 standard core ELA courses to meet graduation requirements will take Lit and Comp 1, Lit and Comp 2, American Lit and Composition, and British Lit and Composition. On the Accelerated Career Diploma, students will take 1 state-funded core English course and Literature and Composition 2. For the 3rd and 4th course options, there will be an AP Language, AP Literature, College Readiness, Dramatic Writing, Dual Enrollment Core ELA classes, or CTAE Plus credit through CTAE Pathway Completion. Board members, that's a lot of information to share with you that the state is changing the names of the ELA courses and some of the content there. Standards are not changing. That's why I have to bring this item to you for approval tonight. So I recommend approval.
Should I reread it?
You can reread the whole thing. I'm not doing it again.
Is there a motion to approve the addition of 3 new ELA courses?
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Move on. There are no action items in Group 2 bids, nor 3 trips to superintendent's reports.
This time I'll call on Mr. Chapman to bring your budget report, sales tax. Mr. Chapman.
Finance report, we've completed 41.67% of the year. We've expended 40.68% of the budget, so right at 1% under. Sales tax, continue to see good collections there, just over $3.4 million. Increase year over year is right at 0.5%.
Thank you, Mr. Chapman. This time I'll call on Dr. Mark Guy to bring your staff and student attendance. Dr. Guy.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. For the 4th attendance period of the school year, the highest staff attendance was Northside Elementary School. Highest student attendance in the program area was Central Educational Center. Highest student attendance for elementary school, Thomas Crossroads. Highest middle school student attendance was Madras Middle School. And the highest high school attendance, home of the Vikings, Northgate High School.
Thank you, Dr. Guy. Northgate's on quite the run there. Board members, for your board goal report this evening, I want to bring you some information regarding the requirements of Senate Bill 233, the Promise Act. On December 2nd, 2024, the Governor's Office of Student Achievement released a list of schools that have been designated as low performing under the requirements of Senate Bill 233, which is the Promise Act. These schools are Glanton Elementary, Jefferson Parkway Elementary, Arnco Sargent Elementary, Ruth Hill Elementary, and Smoky Road Middle School. Schools are good schools who have hardworking teachers and students in them. In fact, just last month, Jefferson Parkway was named a math leader school by the Department of Education. Arnco Sargent was named a literacy leader by the Department of Education for gains in those content areas. I want to be clear that one list doesn't determine a school's success or failure. With this Senate Bill 233 list, we haven't even been made aware of the metrics used by the state that would cause a school to be included. In fact, I almost pulled this item tonight because of the fact that the state has pulled the list off of the Georgia website, Governor's Office of Student Achievement website, twice now for revalidation and recalculation. And we still can get no clarity on what metrics were used to compile this list. System staff are already working to determine how we can better support these schools. We're also trying to find out what metrics were used to put the schools on the list. We're going to work with these schools to continue to provide targeted supports through our embedded school improvement processes to help our students to be successful. We'll continue to provide these supports as needed, as we do at all schools from time to time, based on their needs. Throughout the history of our school system, various Coweta schools have been designated by the state from time to time as needing targeted supports for one reason or the other. Our teachers, leaders, and staff members have always made any adjustments necessary to ensure that our students are successful. Those targeted supports and accompanying adjustments have proven to be successful for our students. I'm confident that this time will be no different. I hope that we learn more over the next couple of days while we're all together at our GSBA conference about how this list was devised, about how they're revalidating this information, and what we can expect going forward. I wanted to bring that to you as information tonight. It's all pretty confusing, but we will continue to work with these schools to help them to be the best that they can possibly be for our students.
Dr. Horton, do you, and you may not, but do you know who is comprised, like who's on this committee? Is it local superintendents? Is it just the state?
What I read today was they had state analysts, data analysts that were looking at the list. I don't know. I'm not aware of any committee that was devised to come up with this list. When I get more information, I will certainly share it with you. I don't take us being on any list lightly, and if in fact we should be on it, we will work like crazy to not be on it the next time. You got that commitment from me. But these are good schools with good people working in them. A list doesn't define a school. I encourage you go walk into any of these schools, and you have, I know you have. These are good schools, and they're not going to be defined by a list. You can tell I'm a little bent out of the frame about that. Last item I have for you, I've got two items left actually, facility and construction report, and then I have a presentation for you on House Bill 581. Facilities and construction report, you can see softball field houses are still there. We're just waiting to close those projects out. Actually, final closeout documents were submitted last week. Newnan High School will be there for a while for us. You can see there on BP3, still got some work that we have to complete on the sound system in the auditorium. Still working on that one handrail, but we're getting there on all of our punch list items there at Newnan High School. See Central Educational Center, the addition, renovations, and modifications. Southern A&E is working on conceptual design drawings, and they actually have a design review meeting scheduled for the early part of next week. I mentioned turf fields to you last month. They're renovating those turf fields at no cost to the system over the course of the next few weeks. Going to improve the longevity of the turf, so there's no cost on any of that. Shield projects, design is underway to install shield at Madras, Smoky Road, Arnold, East Coweta, and Lee Middle Schools. We're planning for project completion next summer on those. And then we do have 2 sewer upgrades that we're working on for this summer. Eastside Elementary and Arnco Sargent Elementary both have some dated's a good way to put it, I guess, Ronnie, some dated sewer infrastructure that we need to work to improve out there this summer, and that's on the docket for this summer.
So we're right at 7:15. And this evening, and actually every evening, we do set aside 45 minutes for public comment. I'd like to go ahead and to do that as long as the board's fine with that. So we were just going to jump for a quick moment, and I'm just going to read this. So in order to improve communication between the Board of Education and the citizens of Coweta County, the Board of Education encourages citizens to attend regularly scheduled board meetings and speak on matters of general public concerns. 45 minutes will be set aside for this purpose at each board meeting. To guarantee an orderly meeting and to ensure that as many people as possible have an opportunity to speak, the Board of Education has implemented the following rules regarding public comment. Each speaker will be limited to 5 minutes. The Board of Education will listen to each presentation without comment. After the presentation is made, each board member may respond if he or she wishes to for a period no longer than 1 minute. Only residents of Coweta County or employees of the Coweta County School System may speak in the public comment portion of the meeting. No grievances will be heard concerning any specific personnel action or any specific county employee except through the grievance procedures set forth in the board's personnel policy. No one will be allowed to discuss any matter involving threatened or pending litigation with the Board of Education during the public comment portion of the meeting. In the need to preserve order in the meeting, no person attending the meeting will be allowed to boo, hiss, cheer, clap, or otherwise show approval or disapproval for any speaker in any manner whatsoever. No signs or placards advocating any action or position will be allowed at the meeting. No personal attacks on any person will be allowed. I, as the chairman of the board, am responsible for enforcing these rules. No citizen or system employee will be retaliated against in any manner whatsoever for speaking of matters of public concern at the Board of Education meeting. Any person not recognized within the allotted time period for public comment will be scheduled at the next meeting. This evening, we have 4 speakers. First, John Moody.
Good evening, Mr. Superintendent and board members. I am the proud father of a very excellent 3rd grade student at Northside Elementary School. We are in our 5th year enrolled in the Coweta County Public School System. And my child has exceeded standards in every area since we've been enrolled in the county school system, until this year, when we first saw our spelling scores begin to go down. As an inquisitive father, I immediately requested a parent-teacher conference with my child's teacher. During that conference, 2 apparent deficiencies were brought to my attention, which I believe warrant the board's attention as well. I am not here to criticize my child's teacher nor the school. They are both very good. I am only here to discuss the adopted methodologies in which things are being done. The first issue I have is the way, the manner in which spelling is being taught in the school system. Before this year, every student got a word list of 10 words on a Monday. You studied them all week, you tested on a Friday. That's the way I learned it, and I'm pretty sure I can wager that's how the board members have learned it, and every member in this audience learned it. And it worked. Today, we are teaching the students the rules of the English language. And at the end of the week, the students are being asked to spell words that they have never seen before, never attempted to try before to spell, and having to simply guess which vowel pairing, consonant pairing, long or short vowel rule applies to that word. Though admirable, I will say, in teaching this method, it has obvious and inherent flaws. And that is simply that the English language has too many violations and exceptions to its own rules. During that meeting with the teacher, we were given an example of a spelling test my child was given. The word was boast, B-O-A-S-T. My child wrote B-O-S-T. And the teacher simply informed us, my child does not understand the rules of the English language. To which I simply replied, what if the word had been most, or host, or post? By my child's logic, the singular O would have applied. A moment of clarity was the expression on our teacher's face. Simply put, this methodology leaves these children lost. Another OST word with a different pronunciation. Words that even rhyme can be confusing, as in please, cheese, and sneeze. Obviously different words, obviously different spellings. And how is a child who has never seen a word before but simply goes by the rules know the difference between words that sound exactly the same, as in the heel of your foot and to heal a wound? Simply put, this does not work. I will spare you the full rendition of the late comedian Gallagher's skit on the English language. However, for students to learn how to spell, they first need to see the word, hear the word, and write the word. When you combine those three methodologies together, it locks it into a child's brain for life. That's how we all did it. It has worked for generations. It has worked for hundreds of years. Some people may still remember a great legend in this county, a Barbara Andrews. I knew her as Barbara Landreth. And she used to tell me, it is not practice that makes perfect. It is perfect practice that makes perfect. These children need dedicated lists to learn and see and read. They don't need to play a guessing game. There is no reason that we need to reinvent the wheel in Coweta County. And when I say wheel, that's W-H-E-E-L, not W-E''L-L. I hope and I think I made my point. The second deficiency I'd like to address is the lack of textbooks and homework that's coming home for these elementary school students. I remember back when I was in grade school, back when dinosaurs roamed the earth, I came home with a textbook for every major subject that I had to study, whether it be reading, math, science, history, social studies. And I had a 1 to 3 page assignment to do it every night. This had two folds of a purpose. Number one, it was good review for the students, but most importantly, it allowed the parents to engage and assess how their child was comprehending the information.
Thank you, Mr. Moody. Yep. Appreciate
Sorry
that.
for my time.
No,
Thank
you're
you so
fine.
much.
Thank you so much. Alan Brady.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to see you all again. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. As you may recall, I've always brought what I consider to be moral issues to your attention and asked you to do the right thing. I've mentioned financial issues in the past, but generally moved on quickly from those, saying it's not about the money, and it's not for me. But now we have an intersection of the moral and financial. Last month, the people of Georgia overwhelmingly voted to change the way property taxes, including those used to fund public schools, are determined. These people did not vote for an opt-out. They voted for the property value assessments for their homes to track the rate of inflation for as long as they own their homes. Whenever they sold their home and realized their gain or loss, which is always a possibility, it happened to my wife and me when we lived in Gwinnett County many years ago, then the next owner would begin their assessments at whatever the home was sold for, which is always a true measure of the value of a thing. What can you sell it for? Now, as I understand it, you're considering opting out of this assessment increase limitation. I assume the rationale for this would be a continued windfall of property tax increases while being able to reduce the millage rate, leading the underinformed to think, great, my taxes are going down. I've lived here for 30 years, and the millage rate has almost always been announced as reduced again, while my taxes have continuously gone up due to the assessed value increases. This past year was exceptional for my family. My taxes went up 38% despite the rollbacks because of another large increase in assessed value, and the state did not reduce it with another large special exemption like they did last year. It was painful to have to scrape up all that money again just ahead of Christmas, considering the dismal economic conditions we're still suffering under. But I know I don't have it nearly as bad as many do. Others were hit with even larger increases. I can only imagine what it's like for longtime property owners who are just barely getting by, who get hit with these large increases. They're eventually going to be forced out of their homes. the homes they own because they can't afford what the government requires them to pay to continue living in them. I recognize that both the county government and the school system require funding to operate, but any tax increases need to be presented through the front door with millage increases that are sold to the public honestly and out in the open, not by backdoor based on unreasonable assessment increases while claiming we reduced the millage rate again. I also recognize that you're up against some limitations like the 20 mil limit. But at the current limit of 15.41 mils, you have almost 30% cushion before you reach that. You'll just have to make the case to the taxpayers for a tax increase directly, rather than relying primarily on valuation increases to take care of it for you. I've observed the county government struggle with their budget, trying to keep the cost under control and tax increases down, in the face of complaints by an angry public who are sometimes not all that well informed. This body does not seem to have this problem, at least not I've seen. Decisions are made quickly and with little discussion. In fact, I saw more discussion and controversy over your decision to begin paying yourselves a salary than I've seen over anything else, at least since the lockdown and masking era. It wasn't my intention to get off in the weeds with this. There's a lot of very interesting financial information that needs to be brought to light, especially if you decide to go forward with the opt-out and the required hearings are held to discuss it. Hopefully, there will be an opportunity to discuss this later. I just want to ask you tonight, please do the right thing. Recognize that the people have spoken on this issue. Let's avoid all the time and controversy. Respect what the voters said. Don't consider opting out, and learn to live with the situation as it is. Thank you.
Maxwell Britton.
Good evening, school staff, board members, and fellow taxpayers of Coweta County. Tonight I want to talk about HB 581 and its offspring, Amendment 1, the homestead exemption you voted for in the last election. This was supposed to bring relief to taxpayers, but here we are again staring down the possibility of losing what we worked so hard to secure. If the school board opts out of Amendment 1, they're not just cutting off significant tax savings, they're taking away your vote and your voice. This decision would undermine the will of the taxpayers, forcing us to shoulder the financial burden while leaving the school system's spending habits unchecked. Follow the money. Let's talk numbers. From 2018 to 2023, the Coweta County school system's budget jumped over $36 million, up 26% from $138 million to $175 million. What's driving this explosion? Salaries. Not just for teachers or directly for our kids, but for administrators, principals, and other staff. Here's a few examples. Superintendent, Dr. Evan Horton, earns more than $300,000, I think it's $340,000 annually. That's nearly as much as the President of the United States of America, and over 570% higher than the average employee in the Coweta County schools. It's also 70% higher than the average superintendent salary in Georgia. Other top earners include Keith Chapman at $190,000, Mark Guy at $187,000, Karen Barker at $167,000, Marcus Whitlock at $163,000, and Steve Allen, a principal, earns $126,000, 180% higher than the average employee. This isn't school system struggling to make ends meet. It's a system that's ballooning at the top while taxpayers foot the bill. And it doesn't stop there. Not too long ago, school board members who once volunteered their time voted themselves salaries. They jumped right on the money train, joining the top-tier administrators on this ride. Millage rates and more taxes. The school board might say that they need to raise the millage rate to make up for lost revenue if Amendment 1 stays in place. They can do that up to the state cap of 20 mils, or they can put yet another local referendum on the ballot to exceed the cap. What happened to working within a budget? If the private sector can work within a budget, why can't the school system? Is a 26% budget increase in 5 years reasonable? where is the money really going? It's certainly not all going to the classroom or directly benefiting the kids. Frank Farmer once said, the school system is a financial engine. What happened to the kids, Frank? We're spending more than ever, yet we're consistently being asked for more. It's time to get off this runaway train and demand answers. To the school board, honor the will of the taxpayers. Don't opt out of Amendment 1. Be transparent, show us where the money's going and how it directly benefits our students. Cut the bloat. Operate within a reasonable budget like every private sector business does. And to my fellow taxpayers, this is our community, our money, and our future. Let's not let this slide. Attend the meetings, ask the tough questions, and hold the school board accountable. Thank you. And let's stand together to ensure our voices are heard. Thank you and good night.
Linda Mink.
Good evening. Two of the mantras that I have repeatedly heard over the last 10 or 11 years, coming from a number of you on the school board, is that one is, it's all about the children. No, it's not. Let's be honest, it's all about the money. You just can't get enough of it. The voters in this county made a decision, and it was a resounding decision with regard to taxation. And yet here we are today with an understanding that you're considering opting out. As Mr. Moody was walking through the dissertation on what he's actually experienced with his child and the failure in reading comprehension and proficiency, you have all the money you need to correct that problem. And Dr. Horton, you're talking about looking at the metrics because you had 6 schools in the system that you question how they were rated. You've got the money to fix the problem. You don't need more. And the other mantra that we heard repeatedly was that we're all in this together. No, we're not. We are not all in this together. I'm looking at mothers and fathers across this county, some of them working 2 and 3 jobs. Some of them own a home, they have a mortgage, some of them pay rent. And renters do pay taxes, trust me. The owners of the property pass the taxes on through rent increases to the renter. So they're paying taxes. I've got the numbers, I can prove it. I'm concerned about the average median income in this county is $90,031 a year. $90,000. And Mr. Britton just outlined the outlandish salaries that y'all are paying yourselves in the school system. It's ridiculous. Mr. Horton, you make 400 times more than the average area median income resident in this county. That's despicable. I'm concerned about the area median income family that's working jobs, paying for gas, paying their mortgage, paying their rent, paying the utilities, making sure that their children go to the doctor, that their prescriptions are filled, and everything stays on target. And you guys are considering opting out? Grow up. You have a budget, stick to it. Stop sticking it to the taxpayers.
Okay. There are no board responses this evening to public comment, but we do appreciate all of you for being here. We really do. So we're going to go back to superintendent's reports. Dr. Horton. And then we'll go to board comments.
Perfect. Board members, if I may, I'm going to walk down to the podium and bring you an informational presentation on House Bill 581. Figured it might be a little bit easier for me to come down here instead of trying to talk to both ends of the table there. Board members, want to start off by saying tonight is about bringing you information so that you can make informed decisions moving forward. We'll get into the timeline about what may need to happen should you choose to opt out of House Bill 581 or Amendment 1 down the road. But this is all about me doing what I think is my job, and that's bringing you information related to what your options are with a piece of legislation that quite frankly, will be one way or the other. It's going to be very consequential for the school system. There is no vote tonight. I understand that some groups in the community had led some in the community to believe that you would be taking some sort of action tonight. There's no action being taken. In fact, the earliest you could take action on this would be at your regular February board meeting. And we'll get into the timeline on that here in just a few minutes. Mike, if you'll go to the next slide, just a little bit about the ballot language and what this is. There was a statewide floating homestead exemption that was passed by referendum with over 60% local and statewide approval. It's interesting, on the ballot it was listed as a statewide homestead exemption. We've since gotten clarification from the state that it is now considered a local exemption. And that has some implications for you related to things like local fair share, and we'll get into that more in a minute. I will say the exact ballot language is there on the screen for you. And you can see that it mentions the question of whether the Constitution should be amended. And it also at the very bottom says which any county, consolidated government, municipality, or local school system may opt out upon the completion of certain procedures. It was right there on the ballot. So let's be clear about what was there. You can go to the next one, Mike. Some other provisions. It authorizes a special sales and use tax that is aimed at providing property tax relief. And it's subject to local referendum approval. It revises the assessment and appeals process, and it requires the Department of Audits and Accounts to conduct economic analyses on any income tax credit within 2 years. And it revises the notice to taxpayers that they get typically in the summertime, and it now would include an estimated rollback definition on their assessment that they would get, or their notice in the summer. Some dates, of course, November 5th, it was approved by the voters. January 1st is the first day that you could do anything related to this referendum, or related to this piece of legislation. The way it was written, it does not allow anyone to take any action before January 1st of 2025. And you can see there, if a municipality or a school district were to consider opting out, that's the deadline, March the 1st there. Has to be done by March the 1st. You must pass a resolution, and you must complete the required public hearings by this date. Board members, it's very similar to the millage hearing process that you already have in place during the summer. The process would begin with an intent basically to opt out. You have to run ads in the paper. We'll get to those in a minute, but everything has to be done by March the 1st. It has to be filed with the Secretary of State. So you can see their process start, and then March 1st deadline. The public hearings must hold at least 3 before passing a resolution. So it begins with those hearings. One of them must take place between 6 and 7 p.m. on a business weekday to accommodate public participation. And then you must publish notice of your intent in the newspaper of general circulation and on your website. So in this case, it would be the Noonan Times-Herald and on the Coweta County website. The law even prescribes the size of the public notice that you have to put. It's 30 square inches. And it has to be placed prominently in the paper, and it has to be a week before each hearing. Also have to include a press release to local media. Has to be simultaneous when you make that notice. And then again, that resolution would have to be filed by or with the Secretary of State's office no later than March the 1st of 2025. Mike, if you'll go to the next one. There's some potential outcomes of opting in or opting out. I want to take you through what some of those are. One outcome, if you were to choose to opt out, that means you would maintain local control over tax policy. If you opt in, the state now controls tax policy for the local Board of Education. And I'll get into that a little bit more. If you opt out, it would maintain flexibility for future boards related to millage rate, the ability to maintain a lower millage rate. And you have the lowest millage rate for education in the metro area. I'll show that to you in a little while. Opting out, if you were to choose to do so, acknowledges the uniqueness of Coweta County. If you opt in to a statewide solution, you may lose the ability to respond to things that may occur here locally. Just need to know that going in. There's a chance that it will provide greater long-term fiscal stability and sustainability, and I'll get into that here more in a minute. Would maintain our ability to respond to crises locally. Things come up and you need to respond to those. If you have that local control and flexibility related to your finances, you're able to do that. And you still maintain a local ability to respond to rising property values and decreases, and an opportunity, if you choose, to look at other potential exemptions if you were to choose to do so. If you opt in, there's a potential higher property tax burden for homeowners. There's a point where millage rates most likely would need to go up. They would most likely need to. And it could mean that down the road, there are potential higher rates. Once the rate cap is reached, there is no flexibility there. It's greatly diminished once you get to the 20 mil cap. And I'll talk in just a minute about the difference between school systems and other local entities. Once you reach the cap, certainly would have an adverse effect potentially on future boards' ability to innovate or respond to those local crises. The actual long-term consequence or long-term impact is undetermined. We have run the numbers. If the cap had been in place during this year, it would have been an estimated loss for our school district based on 8.11% growth and a 4.10 CPI. It would have been an estimated loss of up to $17.4 million for us this year. It's just what it would have meant for us. There's uncertainty even. I even asked again yesterday. There's uncertainty on what index will actually be used in order to determine what inflationary measure. Is it going to be a regional measure? Is it going to be a national measure? We still don't know. One thing I will mention to you, in this particular piece of legislation, school districts cannot participate in property tax relief, local option sales tax. That's available to cities, it's available to counties. It is not available in this legislation. School districts were specifically excluded from the opportunity to go to the voters on a referendum for an additional local option sales tax under this. And it could impair the district's ability to recover from future recessions or from other market adjustments down the road. If you look at where we are, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about revenue here in just a minute. Opting in, it could make us more dependent on state and federal revenue. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really know what to make of that right now federally. I don't know what's going to happen there. There's been a lot of discussion. Even as recently as today, I saw an article about federal Department of Education could go away, and that goes to the states. So I don't know what that could mean for us. It's possible that opting in could cause us to be more concerned, even than we already are, about local fair share. Opting out could mitigate that. I'm going to show you in just a minute our local fair share. That's 5 mills that we pay to participate in state funding. It was over $40 million this year. I'm going to show you the trends of what that's done. Our QBE formula that we use, the Quality Basic Education formula in the state of Georgia, it is not adjusted annually for inflation. So when the formula is not adjusted, the local fair share goes up, state funding goes down, or the percentage of state funding goes down, The money to run the school system comes from local funds. And I'm going to show you in just a minute what those trends have done over the last 25 years. No considerations in House Bill 581 for enrollment growth. There's nothing there for enrollment growth. Could have a disproportionate impact on our school system because 73% of our tax digest approximately is residential here in Coweta County. We're a very heavy residential tax base here in Coweta. And it could also add to the already disproportionate impact of unfunded state mandates and indirect obligations. I'll give you an example of one. Just last year, the legislature decided that employee insurance costs were going to be solely the responsibility of the school system. I think it was $5.2 million last year, based on that decision that we had to come up with during the budgeting process. Our percentage, our employer contribution to the teacher retirement system last year rose by $1.2 million. That had to come from local funds. Another example of that is when raises are given, and we're grateful when they are for our employees. But when those raises are given by the state, not all employees are covered. We've had this conversation many times. Those funds have to come from us locally. And I'll show you a little bit about how some of those trends have gone over the last few years here in just a minute. Just some key elements there. The exemption does allow the property value to increase. It's just adjusted on that inflationary rate. And I'll remind you once again, we don't know what rate they're going to use. They still haven't told us. The exemption does reduce the amount of property taxes paid. It ensures that the assessed value of a home does not increase dramatically due to market fluctuations. This is the point I'll remind you, board members, you do not assess the value of a home. Your sole responsibility is to levy a millage rate for educational purposes here in Coweta County. You do not assess home value. The assessed value for property tax calculation would be calculated on a base year. It's either going to be 2024 or the year immediately preceding when the exemption's first granted. So in this case, it would be 2024. It's capped by an inflationary rate to be determined by the state. Mike, if you'll go to the next one. Major improvements or reductions are included in the calculation, but they're treated separately. It's automatically renewed. It is automatically renewed. And then people keep other homestead exemptions, either senior, veteran, whatever other exemptions they have. If the local taxing jurisdiction has a more favorable exemption, the taxpayer does keep the more favorable of the two for them. Mike, if you'll go to the next one. Austerity reductions, which is something we've talked about. This is state funding. You can see here, beginning in FY 2003, the state began to reduce funding for Coweta schools. You can see the trend lines there, and back in 2018, austerity ended. Over the life of austerity, I believe it was $119 million between FY 23 and FY 2018. State funding was reduced for the Coweta County system, school system, $119 million. The decision whether to opt out or opt in is a big one. Just need to know. That's why I typically don't come to you with 26 slide presentations. This is a big one. It's a big one because once you do it, either opt in or opt out, the way this is written, it is forever. I liken this decision to the decision to create the school system back in the late 60s. A group of people made a decision that they didn't want to have a city-county school system anymore. They wanted to have one. And it set our school system on a trajectory to be able to do the things that we've done over the course of the last 60 years, quite honestly. This decision is a very similar decision. You get one shot. That's why I want to make sure to bring you as much information as I can. Austerity to $119 million, a lot of that was due to the recession, the Great Recession that we had. You can see where those trends really bump up. That's during that time of the housing crisis and the Great Recession. The question we really need to answer is if we had another similar situation and we didn't have local flexibility, how would we handle things? I think that will be a guide for you as you begin to look at whether or not you want to opt in or opt out. Do we have the local control to be able to do the things that we need to do? Mike, if you go to the next one. I mentioned state funding. This is the year 2000, I believe. You can see the yellow there is our state funding. The year 2000, our state funding represented almost 61% of the Coweta County School System's budget. It's in the year 2000. Mike, if you'll go to the next one. 5 years later, state funding represented 51.36% of the budget. And you can see the local amount begin to creep up there, 38.36. Go to the next one, Mike. Now the state is at 46.22. That's their percentage of our funding. And the school district locally there is over 42%. So you can see the trajectory that we've been on over the past 25 or so years. One of the questions you're going to have to answer as we decide whether to opt in or opt out is it a good thing to become more dependent on state funding when those numbers are shifting on us? Mike, if you'll go to the next one. You've seen this before. This is our historic millage rate data, 15.41. It's the lowest millage rate since 1983. That's 43 years ago. Lowest rate for education in 43 years. Also, you've lowered it for the last 5, and you increased senior tax exemptions in 2020. Just a reminder here once again, the school systems operate, I call it kind of a financial box, so to speak. The state caps the number of mills you can levy at 20. The state caps your ability to have reserves. You cannot exceed over 15% of your general fund operating budget in reserves. Okay? You also pay a local fair share to participate in state funding. It's the equivalent of 5 mills and over $40 million this year. The question you'll need to answer over the next couple of months is opting in potentially to 581. Is that going to be the fourth side of the box? Because again, there are constraints that may come with that in the face of some of those unfunded things that are passed down to us from the state over time. Mike, if you'll go to the next one. It's just your millage rates in the surrounding area. These are 23 rates. They haven't changed substantially, but you can see in the metro, Coweta is the lowest. You can see Henry at 20. Rockdale has a different setup. They're at 21, and Fayette at 19.15 in 2023. You go to the next one, Mike. That's just a line graph that shows you what our millage rate has done over the better part of the last 50 years or so. And you can see that red line down at the bottom, that's debt. And about 2002, 2003, you can see that red line flattens out. The school system's been debt-free since that time frame. It's just a chart that shows you millage rate and assessed home value, what it looks like with school taxes per 100,000 or per 25,000 there, excuse me, at 15.41 mils. Go to the next one, Mike. Some differences between us and other municipalities. I've already hit on some of these. We have to pay local fair share. There's no such requirement for cities and counties. We're capped at 20 mills. There's no millage rate cap for cities and counties that I'm aware of. We can't request that local option sales tax. I talked a little bit about that earlier. Cities and counties can. We can't. We're excluded from that. And then we have the reserve cap that I just mentioned. That's a requirement that is specific to school systems. I say that to you just to make sure that we all are clear that our conversation has to be very different than maybe other conversations that may be going on locally or around the state between municipalities. We're playing by a different set of circumstances here. I've mentioned local fair share. I won't go to it again. You can see FY22, it was 27.7. It's over 40 million now. And every time that local fair share goes up, that represents a state funding decrease for the school system. That's coming off the top. I mentioned earlier, the ballot called this a statewide exemption. I mentioned earlier that we got information from the Georgia School Superintendents Association, who got it from the legislature, that they've now designated this a local exemption. Let me tell you what that means. That means that the local fair share comes off the top of the digest before any exemptions are applied. There's not a benefit to us for it to be called a local exemption instead of a statewide, which was what was on the ballot. Local fair share comes off the very top of the digest. No exemptions applied there. Go to the next one. This is a line graph that shows you the school system's local fair share, the trend since 1993. And you can see what's happened and what continues to happen to our local fair share. It's a very relevant piece of the conversation that we're going to need to have over the next month or so as we look to make decision about in or out. It's a very relevant piece. It continues to go up. We don't have to look far to see what happens sometimes when school systems are put in this position, especially with the funding box that I mentioned to you. This is, I think, year 4 for Fayette. I believe they have a 3% cap in Fayette. They are, I showed you their millage rate, 19.15, I think it was. For last year, it's bumped up a little bit this year. So they're getting very close to the mill cap there. You can see they're having to maneuver things around. Costs are not going down. We're 90.73% of our budget is people. I mentioned insurance cost earlier. There are costs that are passed down yearly from the state to us, and they're not totally funded. So costs are not going down. You may remember last year when we did budget, we had to increase for electricity, water, things of those nature, just like others are having to do. This is an example. I encourage you, the article's linked there. I encourage you when you get a chance, go read the article and just see what it says about their experience. No two districts are the same, no two systems are the same, but there are some things I think we can learn as we look toward whether we're going to opt in or opt out of this legislation. If you were to choose to opt out, I've put a tentative timeline here. Okay? The process would begin, it need to begin pretty quickly after the holidays because of the March 1st deadline. And you can see it's just a tentative timeline on what you would need to do if you were to choose to opt out. Go to the next one, Mike. Just some final things I'll mention to you. The one tool you have related to system finances is that millage rate. It's the one thing that the board has control over to be able to finance the school system, to do the things that our students and parents and community expect of us. I will share with you, I didn't mention the total, but that local fair share amount since 1993 is $590 million is what's been paid in local fair share since 93. Did get some information from the Georgia School Superintendents Association yesterday related to where school districts are and what they're thinking in this process. There was a survey that was done. 76 school systems were considering opting out, 21 opting in, and 22 undecided out of 119 school systems that they surveyed. So it's a lot for us to consider, a lot for us to consider. The last thing I'll say, and I'll be happy to take any questions, certainly be happy to take any questions you have over the next month as you're trying to figure out what you want to do. The last thing I'll say is this. I want to make sure that we don't get our wires crossed regarding what a vote to opt out might mean or what a vote to opt in might mean, okay? If you're to opt out, you're not voting to raise taxes. It's not what you're voting for. For the last 5 years, you voted to lower the millage rate. Again, you don't assess home value, okay? You've done the opposite by lowering the millage. A vote to opt out is a vote to retain the authority and flexibility to do what you've been doing, which is to innovate, to manage the school system's business, to respond to crisis. That's what a vote to opt out would be, to maintain that local control. A vote to opt in is saying we'll go with a statewide metric and we'll opt in to state financing for the school system forever. You're also saying if you opt in that if it doesn't work the way everybody thinks it might, that you're asking the state to fix it and we're giving up the ability to fix our own problem. That's where you are. Again, I don't want to belabor the point. It's a big decision. That's why I wanted to take the time and go through it for you. Nothing can start for you until after the first of the year, but want to make sure that I brought as much information as I could to you related to this. It's huge. It's a huge decision. It's a huge decision for you. Be happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Horton. I think you've given us a lot to consider, a lot to go through, and we appreciate your presentation this evening.
Mr. Copeland, can I ask?
Ms. Barnett, go
I
ahead.
just had a quick question for Dr. Horton.
Yes, ma'am.
Did our legislative delegation give you any information, or did they seek your input
No, ma'am.
before this came about?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
One question for me as well, just to make sure I understand this correctly. You're saying that whatever decision is made, opt-in or opt-out, there's no going back 5 years, 10 years, 15 years down the road?
No, sir.
This decision has to be made by March 1st. Whatever the decision is, that's the decision, right?
It's forever.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Well, forever until something else comes down the pipe. Yes, sir. There is no opt-in down the road. There is no opt-out down the road. You're either in or out now.
I apologize. Did any other board have any other questions or comments for Dr. Horton? I'm good. Okay.
Thank
Dr.
y'all.
Horton, again, thank you. Yeah, we have a lot to review over the coming weeks. We'll now move to board comments. All right, hearing none. Is there a motion to approve to enter into executive session to discuss personnel, real estate, and potential litigation?
So move.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries 7-0.